Alrighty, here we go. Sorry, I got click happy. All right, second part of chapter 7. So we are moving into kind of this Republican empire and this idea of where we are going from here. Okay. All right. So see where it says sham treaties? So basically, we are going to just start writing a lot of treaties with the Native Americans, and we will ignore most of them. So let's start with the Treaty of Greenville. So you're going to continue to have disagreements in the West. So if you remember, one of the things that the British did after the French and Indian War is they write the Proclamation of 1763, telling people they can't move west of the Appalachian Mountains, and one of the reasons is they don't want to get involved with the natives. All right? So these disagreements are going to continue. The government is going to assert control over Trans-Appalachian West, arguing that the natives who lived there were conquered. The Indians, of course, are disagreeing because they did not sign the Treaty of Paris. They were not involved. They have been forced to cede huge tracts of land in New York and Pennsylvania. You have land speculators who are going to use liquor and bribes to take additional land. And there's going to be a lot of conflict. And this is going to be even with allying Native groups, white settlers, the U.S. Army. So the Treaty of Greenville is going to cede most of Ohio to the United States, and it's going to start a wave of migration from the east. So there is going to be a bit of a battle here. It's not going to be a big one. The natives are not going to win. But when we win, we write this treaty. And this is going to start a wave of migration from the east. So by 1805, Ohio is a new state with more than 100,000 people. Again, this is not great. All right. To prevent conflict, the United States government is going to encourage assimilation to white culture. I'm not sure why they think this is going to prevent conflict, but that's what they think. Some of the natives are going to convert to Christianity, but they are going to keep their cultural practices, their native languages, and things like that. So, all right. So these are Indian cessions. So all the yellow, of course, before 1784, that's going to be our original colonies. 1784 to 1820. So basically, after we become a nation. All right. You can see all that lighter green, the darker green after 1820. And we will just keep moving ourselves west and keep pushing those natives. All right. So here's an illustration or a painting of the treaty negotiations. All right. On the right, you have the Americans, General Anthony Wayne and some of his fellow officers. You have some other random American soldiers. On the left, this is more than likely Miami Chief Little Turtle, Wyandotte Chief Tar, the Crane, and one other Indian leader. And you can see how they're signing this in the outdoors in an idyllic setting. Everybody looks fine with it. The general's hats are off. Their hands are behind their back. They're very respectful and calm. Actually, the treaty obviously favors the Americans. It is signed after the Indians' defeat at Fallen Timbers. Yes, that's the one I was trying to remember, the Battle of Fallen Timbers. The Americans, not the Indians, dictated the terms. Thousands of Indians were present, and they were likely the passive participants. And it was likely in a more formal location. So you have people who will migrate south as well. You'll have two sets of them, white tenants and Yemen farmers flocking into Kentucky and Tennessee, later into Ohio, Indiana, Illinois. Southern planters and slaves from the Carolinas are going to start moving toward the Gulf of Mexico, so that will be Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, to plant cotton. A lot of people are leaving New England. That's going to be New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine, New York, in search of land for their children. So you can look at those states today, and you can see they are small states. So, in the north, farmers are going to switch from grain to potatoes. They're going to buy farm equipment. They're going to stop to adopt a year-round farming schedule. They'll work harder and longer, and they'll improve their standard of living. they are going to be growing things that they can sell in small amounts. None of these are going to be huge plantations like what you'll see in the South. Okay, so Jefferson's presidency starts in 1800. He is elected, and this is going to begin the Virginia dynasty of Jefferson, Madison, and Monroe. So Washington is also a Virginian president, but Adams is from Massachusetts, so that's why it's not a longer. But this is going to be 1801 to 1825. You will have Virginian men who are going to be in charge of the country. All three of these men actively support westward expansion. Jefferson is going to reduce the size of the permanent army while he's in office. Let's see. 1803, we have our first very important Supreme Court case. This is going to be Marbury versus Madison. This is one you need to remember. It basically says the Supreme Court doesn't have constitutional power to enforce legislation, but they do have the power to review legislation and interpret the Constitution. This is based off of an appointment for Marbury by John Adams at the end of his presidency. He signed it in as a lame duck president, basically, so somebody who is leaving the presidency. And he disagrees with the decision that is made after Adams is no longer president, so he's trying to get it back. So that's the basis of it. But what it really does, this is what you really need to know, is the result of the case. And a lot of the Supreme Court cases we'll study, that's what you need to know, is the result of the case, not necessarily what the case is about. And this is one that you need to know the result. Basically, the result is the ability for judicial review. It means that the job of the Supreme Court is to review legislation and interpret the Constitution. All right, so they can't make laws. All they can do is interpret what's already there. All right, Jefferson wants it to be easier for farm families to acquire land in the West. 1801, Napoleon signing a secret treaty with Spain to get Louisiana back. There's going to be a revolt in Haiti, the Haitian Revolution against French rule. We already talked about that. Jefferson is going to start to fear a relationship with France, so he's going to make efforts to purchase New Orleans, which is ultimately all of Louisiana, all of the Louisiana Purchase. And you can see that map right there, that green area, that is Louisiana Purchase. That is what we buy for $15 million from France. Jefferson believes this is going to force the Indian population further west, and it does, but they're starting to run out of west to go. Some New England Federalists are going to consider leaving the Union after the Louisiana Purchase to form a confederacy of northeastern states. Okay, this isn't a large group of people. This is going to be supported by our friend Vice President Aaron Burr. This is going to be another reason he is going to hate Hamilton, because Hamilton is going to accuse him of planning to destroy the Union. Then you're going to have a duel, and Hamilton will be killed. Burr is later acquitted of treason, but he kind of just skulks off and is never heard from again. You've got Lewis and Clark. In 1804, Jefferson is going to send his secretary, Meriwether Lewis, and Army officer William Clark to explore the Louisiana region. The real thing Jefferson wants to know is who's out there, what are they doing, how is it going to affect us? So they're basically like spies, okay? They're going to come into contact with the Mandan and the Sioux peoples. They will continue traveling 1,300 miles into unknown territories, giving Jefferson the first maps of the wilderness. They'll also give him a detailed account of its resources and its inhabitants. And that's why Jefferson sends them out there, is to find out what the heck they have bought. So that is the end of that section. We have just a bit more to go in the last bit of the chapter, the last like 10 or 11 pages of the chapter. So keep on trucking. See you later. Morning, afternoon, or evening. Bye.